remember the Kansas City Chiefs fans? It was three of them that basically passed away or perished, and it seemed like they all perished and they froze to death. And then the one friend whose house they was over didn't realize that they was still frozen to death after like a couple days or 3 days or some crap like that until they did a welfare check. And then what happened is the wives of one of the guys came over, and then the police came in, and then he wound up opening the door. They had to bust the window. He came in with his drawers. He had a Mai Tai. He had a little drink in his hand. He had been asleep, knocked out. Their cars were still there. And then they went in the backyard, and they found three of the dudes of his friends, the Kansas City Chiefs friends, were basically frozen to death. They was frozen stiff. Now, the theory was that they died from something else, and that they didn't actually freeze to death, but because they were back there for so long, the bodies wind up getting frozen after they wind up passing away, right? So that was the theory. Everybody's waiting on the toxicology reports and stuff like that. And so that news recently was released, and I want to make sure that you guys are updated on what's going on out in these streets. So let me go ahead and revisit that because, again, this is something that I promised you guys that I wanted to stay up to date with. So I'm going to bring that to you, and this is what happened.
I'm kind of losing my mind on this one, Alex. You know, I fully expected we were going to hear something about drugs in the toxicology report. That was not a surprise to me. But at the same time, I didn't expect to hear from the victim's stepmom last night and hear that there were pill bottles inside a backpack that the police did not even bother to take. What are you hearing on the scene at this point?
Look, I can tell you that this was unexpected, not just for us, but also for the family members. Think about this. I've been knocking on doors, including the medical examiner's office, asking them, look, are you guys going to expedite this toxicology report? And basically, they told me point blank, no, this case is no different than anyone else that comes across our desk. But something must have happened. Something must have changed. Maybe it was that meeting with the Platte County prosecutor, because now all of a sudden we are seeing an expedition of this case. All of a sudden, preliminary toxicology reports are coming into the families, and they now know at least a portion of the story, which is inside of the bloodstream of those three men was fentanyl, cocaine, and THC. We don't know the actual specifics, the levels that might have been in that bloodstream. Certainly it was enough to go beyond, well beyond the lethal dosage. But again, the actual toxicology reports are not in the hands of the families at this point. It's in the hands of the detectives, and they have not turned that over yet. But at least the Kansas City Police Department decided that we need to give these folks some answers at least, so that way they can get some closure. Right now, preliminary results, obviously we're asking for that toxicology report so we can get those details and we can report the official cause of death. But that still could take several more weeks.
So let's stop there for a minute and let's break this down. All right. My first question is, why does everything take so long in the United States of America? I mean, in China and other countries, even in the South sometimes, depending on what city that you go to, you can throw a whole house up in like 2 to 3 months. Yo, based off of the all of the red tape that you got to deal with pulling permits and all of the stuff and the problems and the trouble and stuff like that, you look at these guys working on the freeway, they take 1,000 years just to build one spot or portion, and then we look over there and we could see in other countries and stuff, they be throwing that junk up in no time. Or if you go down south, a lot of these illegal immigrants, they be up here throwing up, and these Mexicans be throwing up these buildings so freaking fast. Neither here nor there. But they basically was telling them, listen, this case is no different than any other case, and so we're not going to expedite it and put the toxicology reports or the results of it ahead of time. Now, I did a little bit more research other than what it is that I see reported on the internet, and what I'm also finding is that even the results that was given to the family was leaked. Okay? The results that was given to the family was leaked, meaning that they didn't even officially reveal whatever the cause of death is or the toxicology report. They still doing the autopsy. They still going through the results. They still revealing it. But this was basically leaked to the media, and it was leaked to the family. And then the family leaked it to the media. And they basically saying that, listen, they had weed, cocaine, fentanyl, and God no, and they was drunk. Weed, cocaine, fentanyl, and they was drunk. All three of them. Now, I'm still looking at this and I'm saying, well, this still looks fishy. Thank y'all for the super chats. I'm going to be reading those shortly. I'm still looking at it, and it still looks fishy. But it's two things that I want to say before I continue to show this and before I show the rest of this report, right? Two things that we need to have a conversation about. Number one, don't do drugs, okay? I know that that's an old slogan. I know y'all feel like y'all want to do what y'all want to do. I know half of y'all or most of y'all out here smoking trees or doing something crazy. Look, we got enough stuff to kill us that's in our food. We already got all of these preservatives. We already got all of this crap that we eating that's much different than what they eating as natural over in other countries. We already doped up off prescription medicine in order to treat the symptoms of our problems instead of getting to the root cause of our issues. But then we gonna complicate it on top of it. And then we smoking and sniffing and taking stuff that's laced up, laced down trash, and it's hit up with fentanyl and horse tranquilizer, and it's stomped on. Now, a lot of y'all may not know what being stomped on means, but being stomped on means that it came over here super pure. And then what they did was they cut it up in order to make more profit while still trying to allow for it to be as potent as it could possibly be. So you wouldn't really notice as much of a difference, but they can generate more revenue, okay? So they stomping on it with supplies that make it more plentiful and also trying to keep the potency of it, and it's killing y'all. Now, I still find it weird that all three of these guys are still sitting in the back and they all just die at the same time and they all freeze to death. So I'm not just going for that and thinking that that's the end of the conversation. But the fact that they out here, yo, you got all of these drugs in y'all system, man, I'm high off life. I am high off life. And so y'all out here taking all of these drugs and it's laced with crap and fentanyl. Y'all don't even know what y'all doing and smoking and putting in y'all body, and y'all justifying it in order to, keep y'all somewhat sane or something throughout the day or whatever. I have no idea. All I know is, yo, leave these drugs alone, man. If y'all have not figured out how to wean yourself off of all of these drugs and stuff like that, you really need to figure it out and detox, bro, because it's not good for you. I don't smoke nothing. I don't take nothing. I'm not doing it. I've never been interested in it. It's never been a thing for me. We already got enough stuff that we got to deal with. A lot of these guys are starting to experience, they drinking this lean and junk like that, man. It's messing up y'all. Y'all getting erectile dysfunction because of the stuff that you taking every day and the stuff that you putting in your body. Nah, man, listen, we got to detox. We got to do something a little different. And y'all got this stuff that's out here that's killing y'all, and it's not good. But let me play the rest of this report, and then we're going to get to the rest of the show.
Yeah, you would think that the families, I mean, it's one thing to get a phone call from the detective, right? To tell you, here's what we can, finally reveal. It's another thing to get your hand on the autopsies, and you and your lawyer can go over them and decide what the next step is, like maybe wrongful death lawsuits, like that's something entirely possible. I'm curious, Alex, I'm not going to suggest for a minute that you have been able to dig into the digital files of all of these people, the party guests, Jordan Willis, etc. That's likely something that is tightly held by the police. But is that a mine that should be looked at this point? The fact that maybe there was a whole bunch of chit chat between all the guys before they came over for the visit to Jordan Willis's house pertaining to what they might be bringing with them for fun, party favors.
I think that's a great question. I think that if this does move to criminal prosecution, certainly phone lines and text messages, Facebook messages, social media chats, that's all going to be closely examined. Obviously, we heard yesterday from the cousin of Clayton, Caleb, who said that this was just a normal activity that happens when surrounded by Jordan, that he is known to manufacture and distribute drugs to his friends for recreational purposes, was that line of thought. But certainly I think the families, when speaking to them, they're not against criminal prosecution, but only if it actually is deemed to be.
So homie was the dealer. He wasn't a user, he was a dealer. He never got high off of his own supply. Known to be the dealer, got the heck up out of there. Everybody else died. Never get high off your own supply. Number 5, never sell no crack where you rest at. I don't care if they want an ounce, tell them bounce. Number 6, that got credit, forget it. You think a crackhead paying your back, forget it. How many of y'all ever heard of the 10 Crack Commandments on Biggie's album? I think that that's the greatest hip hop album of all time. Life After Death is the greatest album of all time. Let's get it through.
Criminal behavior in terms of maybe passing out these drugs, which ultimately led to their deaths. They're not saying, they're not pushing for that. Yesterday it was mostly about just, look, we want answers. We're hoping to get those answers. And if it leads to criminal prosecution, great. But I think, honestly, that meeting with the Platte County prosecutor is probably what expedited this toxicology report, because now, all of a sudden, the Kansas City Police Department, the medical examiners are seeing real action being taken by these victims' families, and they're hustling it along.
Yeah, I mean, I smell a wrongful death suit, probably three wrongful death suits at this point from the three different families. Listen, I can't imagine what they're going through, because it's bad enough to lose your loved one suddenly. And then it is brutal to lose your loved one and not have answers. And I can't even for a moment fathom what it's like to do that in the national spotlight and then to get this call and this to be in the national spotlight. Are any family members sort of, talking about the effects of this on them? I mean, I just would imagine that they're grieving privately, but has anyone said anything?
Hey, imagine being one of the family members and you the wife of one of these dudes. You go over there. And again, this is one of the reasons why I'm not interested in Sausage Fest, because somebody said it in the chat. You need some ladies that's around you. I mean, look, I know we hold them accountable and stuff, but good God, like, imagine dying and you find out that your man died in the cold from going over there with his buddies in order to watch a Kansas City Chiefs game and get high, and they had cocaine, fentanyl, and alcohol in their system and trees all at the same time. Imagine a toxicology report get released back to you when you find out that your husband was a crackhead, that your step baby daddy was a crackhead.
You know, what's interesting is I think this brings a sense of relief. Yesterday, when speaking to them, they said, we just want to know that people are looking into this, that this is an actual investigation, and that if we don't have the answers, but at least someone's looking for the answers. And so when answers did come today to their doorstep, to their phones, I think that was a relief. Oh my gosh, now we sort of are getting closer to the answers that we've all.
Nah, I can't imagine that. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that that was a relief. I think that that was absolutely a headache